Hey there friends, Dave Paulides, Canada Missing Project, copyrighted edition for our video channel. This is a missing persons video. So we're going to be covering a lot of topics today, and we've got a lot of room to cover a lot of different things. It's going to be a little different than you think. Not your normal missing 411 missing persons cases. This is going to be something that I think is going to hold your interest. But first of all, every once in a while, one of you really surprised me. And it happened today. A man named Jeff M. I don't have a liberty to say his last name, just call him Jeff M. Sent me two of these. Fisher Space Pen. You know what's funny about that? First of all, Jeff, super nice gift. Thank you very much. When I'm camping, sometimes I'm laying down and I'm writing upside down, and I know I can only write so much. So sometimes I take a little pencil. It's like a little golf pencil you use when you're golfing to keep score, because I know that'll never run out. But I always was looking for one of these at a pen store, and I could never find them. So Jeff, you were reading my mind. It's a great gift. Thank you. And I'm humbled again by the generosity that the people expend towards us. And he sent me two, and I gave one to Angie, so thank you. A lot in the news, and a lot about missing people. I tell you that when we're coming into the spring hiking season, right now in northern Montana, I'm looking outside and it's snowing. You never know what you're going to get. And I like to tell hikers that, especially in those early months, May, June, July especially, check the weather before you go out. There's been a lot of people in the last 5 years in Montana that have died getting caught in early snowstorms from not checking the weather before they go out. And I don't care if you have the warmest attire and the best tent to survive a 4 or 5 foot snowstorm high up in the mountains, chances are slim at best. Best thing you can do under those conditions is stay there. Don't move. Don't try to get out early. Spend a couple extra days. Do not push it. Do never, never, never try to come out in the middle of a storm. Bad idea. So that's my lone hint for today in the early hiking season. I've got a couple of very interesting letters, and away we go. Hey Dave, the synchronicities I'm about to tell you are going to be hard to believe, but they are real. I was stuck at a dead-end job for 12 years. I'd been wanting to do more with my life for a while and asked Jesus to help me. Shortly after, sometime around June or July of last year, you made a video about the missing. And towards the end of the video, you made a quick statement, and you said something to the line of, if you don't like your job, leave and find something you'd like to do. I was like, that statement was out of place. It was so abrupt that it surprised me. Well, let me stop there for a second, because I know a lot of you are thinking, I hate my job, and I don't like doing what I'm doing, I'm better than this. And I will tell you that there's only been one time in my life I ever thought that. And I didn't last long in the job. I was working in HR. I was working for somebody I didn't like because my old boss, who I loved, left. And they put this other person in there. I didn't like them. And I only lasted in there about 6 months. I found another job and got out of there as quick as I could. But the point being, friends, life's too short. And I know you hear that every once in a while. Life is too short. And your life is made of memories. And you don't want to have one of those memories where you did something that you didn't like for someone you didn't respect, because life will go by so slow and you'll regret it. And you are better than that. I always enjoyed working for somebody I could make look good. And I always tried to do that because I knew the people that I was working for respected that and rewarded me in the end for that. And I don't mean, good boy, Dave, yeah, no. I mean, just going out to lunch and saying, hey, I've noticed you've been putting forth a big effort. Thanks a million. Just little kind of things. And if you're a supervisor or a manager and you're not doing that, you need to go to some supervisorial classes and leadership classes and understand really what makes a workforce excel. And if they respect you and they like you, they'll want to work for you. So, back to the letter. I really wanted to leave, but I had second thoughts. I thought, what if I leave and then regret my decision? I felt conflicted and asked Jesus again to help me make the right decision. A week or two passed, and suddenly, in 1 week, I had a few customers at work who just wanted to start a fight with me for no reason. One person told me to go to the parking lot with him to fight. I thought to myself, if I go to that parking lot with this guy right now, with my expertise in MMA, this idiot is going to leave the parking lot in an ambulance. Anyway, if I remember correctly, a couple of months after that video, in another video, you talked about better job opportunities being available to us. I got so fed up with customers harassing me that I left in September. I was without a job for about 3 months, and thankfully I had managed to save up enough money to support myself until I found that new job. I asked my cousin, who was an electrician, to take me to work with him and teach me electrical work. He agreed, and he said he'll pay me $100 a day to start with if I put in the effort, and he'll raise my pay as I advance. I always thought an electrician's job is pretty easy. Boy, was I wrong. It's a tough job. After a while, I thought about quitting and doing something else, but then in another video, you mentioned how electricians and plumbers have a good, solid career. Oh, they do. I felt that message was for me, so I stuck around. Now I'm used to the job and love what I do. I'll take a few years before I can get my own license, but I've adapted well, and I'm making very good progress. A few days ago, when you spoke about that plumber, and that you tell someone looking for a good career to go to plumbing, I was like, yep, that's excellent advice for anyone who wants to do more with their talents. Dave, I believe God uses good people to help others, and I believe God used you to help me start this new chapter in my life. And it's because you're a good man and a pure soul, I sincerely thank you. You've helped me more than you could possibly know. I think if I knew Ben, we'd be good friends in the next life, I guess. I always keep you in my prayers, brother. Keep doing God's work. We've got a lot to do. Maybe one day in the future as a village we'll get to the bottom of this. You know, I truly believe that we're all out here for a multitude of reasons. If I could help that man, I'm blessed. I'm blessed I can help anybody. I've told you before, I'm nobody special. I'm just somebody out here, found a little niche in life where some people are interested, and I'm humbled that I have this topic, and it's my role to run with it and try to understand it. Along those lines, I've met a lot of you, and you've helped me a lot. And in turn, if we can help each other as that village, lift each other up when we're down, give each other insight when we need it, and dish out those positive words of support when we read that each other are desperately in looking for it. That's really what this world's about. And I know I read those notes from you all the time about, Dave, don't listen to the naysayers, don't just ignore them. And I do, I try to. There's a lot of them, and you don't see 99% of them. But I'm thankful, brother, that you have a good job now as an electrician. Be happy. This is a funny one, this next one. It's actually almost hilarious. I get about 2 or 3 companies a month that send me inquiries about doing a commercial for them on my channel. And they'll pay anywhere between $2,500 and $7,500 for me to do a minute ad on my YouTube. And I've never done it. Now this one, I read it and I said, I've got to give it to these people. I've got to let them see it. It says, "Hello, we would like to link your YouTube channel to promote our brand. Our team would like you to promote our brand of blank, the Chinese brand of consumer of electronics. The name of the brand is blank. In Chinese, it means blank. It's a Chinese company founded by blankety blank and partners in firmware based on Android. The main activity of the company is the production of smartphones. There are models of different price categories from budget solutions to flagships. Do you want to work with us? We are waiting for your reply and we will discuss the details." Short answer, no way. Long answer, no way. Can you imagine? Out of everything, I mean, most of the companies I get are either US based or there's some European, but I've only had a couple of Chinese companies do this. Now, I understand because I have some Chinese friends that are just outstanding people. I don't want to help the Chinese company one iota. I hope that they don't sell another thing in the US again. It's my world. But no, you won't see that commercial on this channel. Next email. Oh, this finds you well. I've heard of your work a few years ago, but only in the past few days have I started watching your videos and your movies. I must say that I'm really appreciative of the effort you're putting into the research, and I plan on buying your books once I have some extra cash to support your work. Do not buy my books on Amazon, eBay, etc. Only buy them from our website, which is listed right under the description of the channel and on the pinned comment on this video. Because if you buy them on the other channels, you're going to get ripped off. I'm contacting you concerning 2 different entities I encountered in my life, and I would like to know if you have come across either one of them. So listen up, folks. I'm now in my 30s, so some of my memories of the events or when they happened might be a little hazy, but I'll try my best. First encounter happened when I was in 6th grade. With our school, we went to a winter camp for about a week in a countryside town in Quebec to do some winter activities like snowshoeing, cross-country skiing, etc. Unfortunately, I don't remember which town it was in. One night with the teachers and the camp organizers, we go outside in a field that was part of the camp and we make a big bonfire and eat marshmallows. And when the time comes to pack up and return to camp, I see a kid I didn't know by the tree line, leaning back on a tree. I waved at him to signal that we were leaving, and I think I yelled out to him without getting a response. As I was about to tell one of the adults, I looked at him better despite the darkness by the tree line, and I realized that the kid had no facial features, no eyes, no mouth. I think he had a nose, but I'm not so sure. He was dressed in a winter apparel with a coat, snow pants, and had a winter hat. Maybe he also had a scarf, but I'm not so sure. He never moved from his spot, never waved back or anything, just watching from a distance. I told some kids after we were back at camp that we were telling scary stories and they got scared. But in retrospect, I think they didn't believe me. Needless to say, that really freaked me out and still haunts me to this day. The other encounter happened when I was in high school, but I don't remember the year. This happened in my family's apartment in the suburbs of Montreal, on what is called the South Shore, but where we lived was 4 kilometers from the St. Laurent River. I was in the bathroom, and since I was home alone, I didn't close the door. Exactly. Suddenly, I hear a loud crash coming from my bedroom. No big deal, I think. My room was a mess, and one of my 2 cats probably just knocked something down. Of note, the bathroom is located in the corridor that leads to the living room to the bedrooms and gives a view of the kitchen when the door is open. So as I continue my business, I see one of my cats coming from the kitchen, and then not long after, the other from the living room. That's where I start freaking out a little, but I think, oh well, maybe something was just waiting to fall. So after I'm done, I go in my room, and despite the light being turned off, enough light was coming from the corridor so I could see and scan the room for anything that might have crashed. Nothing seemed out of place when suddenly I felt a cold grip holding me through my flesh to my bone. I was petrified. Not sure it just from the utter fear I felt or because of the formless entity. I was desperate to get it off me, so I tried projecting a dark aura of hatred and anger to let it know I was pissed at it, but its grasp only became stronger, feeding off the negative energy. Despite my panic, I was quick on my feet, calmed down by thinking about my family and my cats that I loved, and used that love to protect my bright aura of love and positivity. This released me of the hold of the entity immediately, and I could move again, but I was still in shock. I gathered my cats, turned on all the lights, and waited in the living room with the TV on to make some noise. Note that at the time before and after, I've also experienced some poltergeist activity, so maybe it was one of the events that were related. Sorry if my email was a bit long. I tried to format it as best I could, so at least you could read it clear. I hope you can shed some light on these encounters, and if not, I appreciate you taking the time to still read me. Again, thanks very much for your credible work. Okay, that's pretty freaky. I am not big on any of that kind of stuff. There was a show on TV where these two people went into caves. And it was, I think, a husband and a wife, young, in their 20s. And they were looking for spirits of miners and things. In one of those shows, a girl that was part of their team or part of the camp that they were visiting disappeared. And they found him a couple miles away in this abandoned house, sitting in the middle of the house, like in a stunned daze. I'll never forget that. And they blamed it on, demonic entities or something along those lines. And the girl really didn't talk after that. She wasn't part of the film crew. The point being is that these ghost shows and things don't want anything to do with it. Again, because of the type of work I've done in the past, I've gone to tons of conferences where sometimes these people go along, and we always talk when there aren't people around and things, and a lot of those people have told me that they get what everyone seems to call hitchhikers. And that is that these entities sometimes follow them home. And what the people were experiencing at the location where they visited, maybe they don't have the same experience at that location, but they come home and they have the experience at home. Friends, when I'm at home and I want to go to sleep, I don't want anything scaring me in the room. I don't want anybody sleeping in my bed with me other than Angie. I don't want any of that stuff going on. I'm not afraid of a lot, but I just don't like the annoyance and I don't like the shock value. So, and thinking back through my law enforcement career, I've been plenty scared in my life, searching buildings and things where I knew someone was inside. I just had to find them, but somebody sent me this, and I'm going to read it to you. And what it is, it's an article from Fox News. Somebody sent it to me, and it was Lake Mead Drought Exposes More Human Remains. Homicide Lieutenant Ray Spencer said earlier this week that authorities expected to find more bodies. More human remains were discovered in Lake Mead in Nevada Saturday afternoon following last week's discovery of other human remains in a barrel at the newly exposed bottom of the lake. National Park Service rangers received a witness report of human skeletal remains discovered at Calville Bay, Lake Mead National Recreation Area, about 2 p.m. local time Saturday. The investigation's ongoing. No further details were released. Fox News has reached out to the NPS and Las Vegas Metro for comment, but did not hear back. Last Sunday, boaters discovered skeletal remains inside a barrel at the bottom of the lake. A severe drought has depleted its water levels, so much so that Las Vegas's uppermost lake intake became visible last week. Lieutenant Ray Spencer said the body was that of a man who had been shot. He said the killing probably happened in the mid-70s to early 80s because the victim was wearing shoes that were manufactured around that time. Spencer told KLAS-TV on Monday that there was a very good chance as the water level drops that we're going to find additional human remains. It's Las Vegas. You know, back in the early days, there was a lot of gangster killings. A lot of bad guys ended up killing each other. To find them in the bottom of that lake, not a surprise at all. And they even said after they found the first remains that there was a very good likelihood that as the water level goes down, they're going to find even more people. Well, they are. Not surprising. So I just wanted to answer, if one person sent it to me, there's probably others, so I wanted to clear that up for you. Now today, we're not doing 3 stories about missing people. We're doing 4. Pay close attention. You're going to see a link between all 4 of these, and they're a little different. And it's one of those things that we've been looking to put together for a while, and it's been probably a month's period of time to put this segment on for you. If you like it, give it a thumbs up, please. So the first story, I bet you guys have never heard of this. Green River Hot Springs in Washington. No, Dave, I haven't heard of that one. Well, it was first settled in the late 1800s as a city called Kendon, Kendon, Washington. I'll show you where it is, just so you know. Now this is Enumclaw, Washington, right here. Enumclaw. And out here, way out here, boy, Catchus Lake, and this is Hot Springs. It's in the middle of nowhere out here. Now, there's a railroad that goes right through the middle of this area, and there's a very small town right here. Hot Springs is just west of this, out in the middle of nowhere. Now, in 1907 to 1908, there was a hotel there called Green River Hot Springs. A very nice hotel. There you go. In 1912, 1913, it burned down. And also from 1905 to 1908, there was a sanitarium in this area. What they did was they dynamited and destroyed all the buildings. And the reason wasn't totally clear. But now, the city of Tacoma owns that area, and it's their private watershed, and it's private property. You can't even get in there. But from 1907 to 1908, when the hotel was being operated, they had a pretty famous chef named Julius Cumley, Kumle. And the hotel was being ran by a man named Fred Klober. He was 34, pretty famous as well, because it was such a high-end retreat to go to. Well, October 19th, 1908, Julius and Fred went deer hunting in the mountains around there. Deer hunting was pretty good because it was so remote even then. I could only imagine how the hunting is there now because it's private Tacoma watershed. But October 19th, 1908, they leave to go hunting. Well, they were going to be back that afternoon, early evening. They didn't show up. The next day, they start rallying everybody at the hotel and from the cities in Enumclaw and around the area. They bring them in and they start searching. And they search for a long time. Now, 7 days after they go missing, one of the employees, a Swede named Adolf Lundgren, who was employed by Mr. Klober, one of the 2 missing people, had a dream that night. And the dream was that he saw one of the bodies of the missing people. It was Julius. And he was on a hillside. And Adolf thought that he recognized in his dream where the body was located. Now remember, seven days into the search, nobody had found anything. So Adolf goes out 4 miles with his best friend who also worked at the hotel. And they find a spot 4 miles away. And they climb up the hillside, pretty steep hill, and they find Julius's body laying there. Kind of strange. He's laying on his back. His hands are crossed at his heart. He's got his hat on over his face. He's laying down prone. He's obviously dead. And under his head, somebody had put pine needles as almost like a pillow. His rifle was laying next to him. Well, that was odd. But they found him. And they kept searching now for Fred. So remember, Julius has found a dream by somebody working at the hotel. So they look at the area where Julius's body was, and they see tracks leaving that go towards the snow. Now, the afternoon that these men left to go hunting, there was a big snowstorm, which kind of encumbered the search effort. Well, they searched, and they eventually find a spot about 4 miles away from the hotel and about 700 yards away from where Julius was, downhill from where Julius was, and they find Fred's body. Very odd circumstances. Downhill, on the half over a log, is Fred's body laying there with the rifle next to him in the dirt, him face down in the dirt with his legs over on one side of the log. He has a broken neck. The story said that they thought that Fred was running, trying to get back to the hotel, tripped over the log, hit his head in the dirt, and fractured his neck, killing himself. I don't buy it. I don't buy it at all. Many reasons there I don't buy it. It's not easy to break your neck, number one, unless, I could get into details with you, but just from my history, when you hit the top of your head, like if I drop you head first onto the ground and I compress your neck this way, down, like somebody diving into a pool and hitting the bottom, that's a very easy way to break your neck. It's very hard when you fall face first. This is the reason why when they teach football players to hit people with your head up, face right into the person. Because your neck can take a lot of abuse this way, not this way. So you never want to tackle somebody head on. Head's always up. And they described how Fred's body was found. Made no sense to me at all. I've thought about it many nights. I don't believe it. I don't know what happened. It, to me, almost sounded as though Fred was dropped on his head on that log and rolled over the top of it. I don't know. They also surmised that Fred found Julius deceased and put him in that position to die, and then went to get help. The short of this and the long of it, both deaths were very odd. But it goes back to what I told you before in previous episodes. When you talk about Mr. Lundgren having the dream and walking straight out and finding Julius's body, where does that come from? Keep that thought. Where does that come from? So, the next story. This one occurred in Utah. A young man named Marlon Tanner, 16 years old, hunter, missing October 18th, 1920. He was from Toole, Tooele, Utah. He was hunting south of Granitesburg, and he was with his brother Melvin and his 2 friends. Well, Melvin and Marlon were hunting together, and Marlon got really tired, kind of ill. Told his brother he couldn't go on anymore. So his brother put him down under a pine tree, fired 3 rounds into the tree, and then went to a nearby farm to get help and horses. He knew he was going, and as he left his brother, it started to snow. It started to snow hard. Well, Melvin eventually gets to the farmhouse and gets help. And within a day and a half, there are 300 searchers trying to find the tree. And on August 24th, 6 days after he left his brother, they found the tree. They found the rounds in the tree. But Marlon wasn't there. Well, on October 27th, they gave up on the search. They were exhausted. And the family was devastated. They lost their son. They couldn't find him. His brother felt guilty that he had let him lay there. It was a bad situation. Now fast forward to May 1921. A lady named Mrs. Miles, who lived in the valley south of Granitesburg, had a dream in February of Marlon and where he was located. But there are still feet of snow on the ground. She told her husband of the dream, and she had several renditions of it. Well, on May 16th, the weather was good, snow had melted, and her husband went out, and she directed him where she thought the body would be on Box Elder Canyon in a place called Martin's Fork. And they rode right to the body. They found that he had a gunshot wound above his heart. He was 700 yards from the tree where his brother left him. The area had been searched probably hundreds of times. The rifle was right nearby. It was about 7 months from the time he was last seen. Point of separation, previously searched. So, this is Granitesburg. This is the area where Martin's Fork and the Box Elder Canyon is. This is a transition from desert to forest. The area where he disappeared in was not very thick. And it's surprising that he wasn't found. It makes no sense. But I want you to think about this. Mrs. Miles had no relationship to the boy, whereas Mr. Lundgren was friends with Julius, the man he found. Mrs. Miles had no relationship with Marlon. How did that information find her mind so she could go find this boy? What's the mechanism here? She'd never found anybody before. She wasn't a proclaimed psychic. It was just this one case that kept telling her, hey, you gotta go, you gotta go. She eventually went. So, I want you thinking about this. Next case involves a 13-year-old boy named George Furman. Now, George was a Boy Scout, athlete, good kid. Went missing July 4th, 1975 at Van Buren State Park. Now, this place has a lot of meaning to me because it's right in the middle of the Michigan Triangle and the Michigan cases I've told you about in the past. Here's Grand Rapids. Here's Benton Harbor in a lot of my videos. And here's Van Buren State Park. Sorry, folks. This is in the middle of major weirdness. So, George is camping with his grandparents for the July 4th weekend. They get to the park Thursday night. he's got a hatchet, he's kind of playing games, and he tells his grandparents, I'm going to go for a walk, and he walks down the beach, disappears. He disappears at 4 p.m. on July 4th. Grandparents look for him for 5 hours, can't find him, report him missing at 9 p.m. State police come in. And up the beach, near a giant sand dune, they find his hatchet, and they find both of his sandals sitting on the beach. Well, that's kind of odd. Well, the state police calls in canines, helicopters, and eventually they get 100 searchers. And after a couple days, they figure, hey, we're not finding anything. So let's dig. So they get in a big earth mover and they move 10 tons of sand, thinking he's in the sand dune. They didn't find him. Dogs weren't activating on the spot. And after 8 days, they gave up the search for George Foreman. Now, two trains of thought here. Sandals were a little bit off the water, and they knew he was a good swimmer, so they didn't think that he would drown in the lake. But the canines weren't activating. Nobody saw him in or around that sand dune. It was a strange scenario. So fast forward 19 days from the day he disappeared, July 23rd, 1975. A man named Anthony Worrell, 27-year-old engineering student from Wayne State University. He had a dream. He had a dream about George Foreman. No real reason to. He read about it in the newspaper, heard about it in the news, and he had this dream. Now, here's George, here's Anthony, and they'll be attached in infamy because Anthony has the dream. He tells his dad, and his dad says, it's weird because nobody in our family's ever had dreams like that, but that's the second one you've had. And Anthony says, yeah, I know. And the first time I did have one, I actually did find the body, and he was telling the truth. Now, this is another time where he believes that he knows where George is. He just has to go to the beach in the area and find the sand dune because he thinks he knows. Well, he went to the dune after telling his dad, and he found George's head protruding slightly out of the sand. Notified Michigan State Police. They responded, and they recovered the body. It was the exact same sand dune where they had moved 10 tons of sand. You could say, okay, how did they miss it? If you're going to move 10 ton, well, go move a couple more ton. Let's find the boy. How did they miss him? How did the canines miss him? And again, it's in a cluster of disappearances that I've talked to you about multiple times. It's very odd. So, when you talk about Anthony having the dream, again, no correlation to George, no relationship. It wasn't like Mrs. Miles, an older lady, having a dream about a younger boy, thinking maybe it's her son type relationship and feeling pity for the boy. No, this is totally different. Very odd scenario. But this is the second body that was found by Anthony. And he claimed he didn't have any special abilities and he didn't know what triggered these dreams. But he did have them. So that's 3 cases now I've given you. The last case. Myrtle, Nason, Florida, 56 years old. Missing April 9th, 1983. From Golf Estates in Bradenton, Florida. Kind of give you layout here, and it isn't the same layout that it was in 83, obviously. But Gulf Estates trailer park right there. She lived right along the roadway. Now, even today, you can see all of the water that's in this area. And there is a lot of swampy areas. Why did I say swampy areas? I shouldn't have probably said that to you too soon. But Myrtle had bouts of instability per her husband. Well, April 9th, her husband comes home from work, and Myrtle isn't home. There's nothing missing from the house other than the things that she would be actually wearing. Purse, car, everything's in there, in the house. Keys. So they get out the canines, put up helicopters, and they start looking. They went door to door, knocked on neighbors' doors. Hey, have you seen Myrtle? No, nobody had seen her. Her husband said that she had high blood pressure and sometimes bouts of instability. It was never made really clear what that meant, but that she had left before in fits of anger, etc., but she'd always come back. Well, at the end of the third day, a woman named Beatrice Lydecker, 44 years old. That's Beatrice. Beatrice came to the search zone and told searchers that Myrtle is going to be located within a mile in a very swampy, overgrown area. And she directed him to it. Well, at 9:30 on the fourth day of the search, police found Myrtle exactly where Beatrice said she'd be. Myrtle was dehydrated, had exposure from being outside, had high blood pressure. Now, Beatrice had told, and it was confirmed, that she'd found people before, and that she lives through them. She sees through them. That was her explanation. Now, her job was an animal psychologist. The detective said there's no way they would have went into the area where Myrtle was found because they didn't believe anybody could get in there or anybody would be alive. And if it wasn't for Beatrice specifically directing them into Myrtle, the detective said there's no way she would have lived a second day or a fifth day. She was sketchy at the fourth day. Now, I've given you cases where there's no way this is happenstance. This is luck that these people are found by these individuals. There's something else going on that is very intriguing to me. And what I go back to is if there's another entity that's taking these people, is that same entity then giving it back through the mind of some innocent bystander? And how is that bystander even chosen? The other part of this, and I've said this 100 times, but I keep having to say it. Remote viewers. Everybody says, well, Dave, why don't you work for them and they can find these people for you? Negative. I've worked with some of the most famous remote viewers in the world. One specifically said, oh, I found this person, Dave. Yeah. I said, oh, okay, great. Didn't say anything, left. Well, I called this missing person's wife. And this is one of the most famous remote viewers in the world. And the wife said, Dave, stay away from that man. He's a shyster. He's a liar. He didn't do anything to find my husband. He lied to the press about helping. He didn't do anything. Stay away from him and be careful. Alrighty then. And then, during my search to understand remote viewers, I did a very extensive search trying to see if they've ever found anybody. And friends, I can't find anybody found by a remote viewer. Sorry, just the facts. I've told anybody out there, I started saying this about 7 years ago. If you're a remote viewer and you can go find a body for me, I will make you famous. I will. Do you know how many people have contacted me since I said that? None. So I don't care what you say about remote viewers. There's something about missing people where they're not very effective. Now, I've sat through some conferences with some of the most famous remote viewers in the world. Had dinner with them later. And I thought that the stories they told were unbelievable. They were great. But never could be substantiated. Now, let me say something. These people may have abilities. But one thing they haven't done is they haven't found a missing person. And if you have special abilities, why not use those special abilities to help people in great need? When somebody goes missing and you have that window of finding them alive, and you were a remote viewer who had all these skills, why wouldn't you step up and use those skills to find this person? I never hear them doing that. So my frustration with them is pretty high. I know they all like to sell their classes, and some people think that they're really, really good. Well, they might be, and I'm sure they're really entertaining, but in my world, I'm only care about one thing: facts and results. So, remote viewers, psychics, I'm sorry, I do think that there is something to certain psychics. The psychics I have talked to have all stated that we all have this ability, but we just have to teach ourselves to use it in the right way. Well, friends, I'm obvious. I don't have that ability. Ben and I always used to talk about that pineal gland and how it calcifies over time. And how if we can get rid of that calcification, then it may open up that third eye force to be able to look out and see without our eyes. It was always something that we enjoyed talking about. But I do believe that people have been found through dreams, psychic connections. I just gave you 4, and I've given you 3 or 4 others in other videos that I've done. I did this for a specific reason. Now, these cases, when I did the research on them, many of them didn't fall into the classic 411 scenario. They all had the elements, though. Now, boy being found with a gunshot wound, obviously accidentally self-inflicted. The boy found in the sand dune, gut tells me that he was probably digging a hole like boys do, and it caved in on him and killed him. But too much weirdness going on with a lot of these cases. And I would probably say that in the future, I'm going to use a profile point as dreams playing a role in finding the body. The reason I say that is it's so unique. And when you look deep into those cases, there is a thread of 411 in all of them. So what is the catalyst for the dream to happen, or the psychic connection to happen? What is that? Is it the person's soul reaching out to contact somebody out there, and somehow or another that soul connection is made? Is it God or a heavenly form saying, hey, we need to have pity on the parents, we need to find this person's body, we need to help them live, and they reach out to somebody for that connection? So, is it the person somehow reaching out in their soul? Is it a heavenly body somehow reaching out? Is it something else? And when I say something else, let's use the ant farm scenario. Let's pretend for a second we are the ants in the ant farm here on Earth. And the people that monitor us see that we die or we are about to die, and they want to see the emotional play out of somebody having that vision or having that dream and going to get the body. I know that sounds crude, but I think we have to think outside the box. We have to understand all of the various possibilities and then somehow use analytics to coordinate down to what could possibly be occurring. What if we had the ability to trigger a dream to find somebody? And if we understood how the dreams come to us or why the dreams come to us, in turn, maybe we could trigger that mechanism to find somebody. You may say, well, Dave, you're really nuts. Well, I knew that, but I think we have to start looking at these things. So, I appreciate you being here. I want you to walk away and think about this. Send me an email at canam, like Canadian American, canammissing@yahoo.com. You can follow me on Twitter at David Paulides at canammissing. And I've got a lot of new Twitter followers. People are coming back. Thank you. Give us a thumbs up if you like the video. And I'm humbled that everyone is still here following me. And I'm going to do my best to instill thought and critical thinking on all of us, because I think that this is a valuable topic. And I'll keep bringing up these new twists and turns in the sessions. So, thank you. Thank you, each and every one of you. Now, be that good villager that we all are, and when you're out in the public, do something for somebody who's very needy. I just read that the soup kitchens have 2 and 3 times the need for food that they had as of 3 months ago. So I know this may sound weird, but do something simple. Go buy 10 cans of tuna and drop it off at the soup kitchen. Go buy some canned stew and drop it off at the soup kitchen. If everyone did that, that'd be meals for a lot of people. So do something nice, productive, and you know what? In your heart, it'll make you feel better. And you're doing something for humanity. Thanks for being here. Paulides out.